Hi everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me on a Friday night. I happen to know what day it is today. I'm coming off of what has been just like a wild last month with my schedule, with clients. It's been kind of crazy given the transits that are going on in the world right now, so I really appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in with me. I like doing this on Friday night. I don't think I would rather be anywhere else, to be honest with you. So how is everybody doing in the chat? I see a couple people just got online and a couple people are just tuning in. How's it going? How's it going? Give you guys a couple minutes. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback with this. I'm gonna take this off. How is everybody doing this evening? How are you guys faring? Given the astrology in the skies, let me know how you're doing. We have the PayPal link that's up. We've also got Super Chat, so I don't know if you guys are interested, but basically I show up here on Fridays. I give you guys a little bit of time to answer some questions, whether I'm doing tarot readings or I'm doing astrology. I have to say I got nothing but insanely positive feedback in regards to doing astrology readings and kind of doing it in an open forum, making it possible for not only you guys to, you know, kind of tune in and see me at a more kind of convenient schedule, but also equally like this is a great opportunity for people to learn. So to be able to just sit and just hang out and chat and listen to other people's readings. You might even find people have very similar astrology to you. And I'll talk a little bit about how this works in a minute if you guys haven't caught my last couple lives. But basically we're gonna pull up people's charts live, and we're going to take a look at what their chart looks like, what their transits look like, and I'm going to answer one question. And so this is kind of fun because the questions oftentimes can get very, very, very specific. They can get colorful, or they can be super kind of broad and more in terms of what do I need to know given my astrology right now. Hi Lynn, hi Holly, hi Rob, nice to see you. Hi Kristen. Yeah, this has been a really crazy week. You know, the Saturn-Uranus squares have been kind of really alive and well, keeping everything nice and electrified. And now we're coming into all kinds of funky squares now that Mars has moved into Leo and Venus is getting ready to come into an opposition with Pluto. So I'm going to talk about all of that stuff on my live on Monday. I'm also going to be chatting a lot about the next full moon that's coming in Capricorn. So if you guys aren't aware, every Monday I do a live show. I talk about the astrology for the week. I discuss all of the new moons and the full moons. And I also just talk about everything that's going on in between and give insight into all of the 12 signs. Those of you guys who have already bought questions, thank you. Looks like we've got Paige, and I'm trying to see what else. I think we have somebody else that was asking questions. So yeah, you guys can send it through Super Chat, or you can send it through the PayPal. The link is below, as is my Instagram, Facebook, my website. You can book with me, all that fun stuff if you want to follow all my astrology memes and my posts on Instagram. And you know, the North Node's in my you accidentally requested money. It's okay. Happens quite often, actually. I was playing around with the idea of like doing a new media, you know, because I've got obviously a complete new setup. I'm in a new office space. Like we're streaming live and doing these live shows, and everything's like high def and everything's like really clean. And part of me just wants to like go in there guerrilla style and be able to just pop on here and do more videos throughout the week and be able to talk to you guys about whatever is on my mind and my ramblings. So I'm deciding I'm probably going to start a TikTok, even though I feel like old as fuck. I'm going to do that. I will get a TikTok so I can just talk about my astro ramblings. I really think that's all that it's going to be. And questions that I think about in regards to astrology, or when I find fun things. So I'm probably going to do that in between my TikTok and my Instagram. So if you want stuff that's like more like entertaining and fun, you can go follow that stuff. I'm pretty sure I have a TikTok, so I think you can actually find me. I'll post it later when I actually go and be active on it, because I'm still trying to figure out how that stuff works. But North Node and Gemini, you know, new softwares, new technology, new apps, new social platforms. So I'm trying to get with it, you know, try not to be an old lady. You got to do what the kids gotta do what the kids find, I guess, cool these days. All right, so we have a couple people in queue. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so we've got Paige Peters is up first. And yeah, Holly, I didn't see the request, but if you do send it through, let me know. Sometimes there's a delay with PayPal, so depending on the order that we get payment, we're gonna start first with Paige. So let me pull this up and we will get going. Also, a new thing that I'm doing, you know, before I was just doing $40 for one question. I'll do a question that's a Synastry based question also. So if you know your chart information, granted, okay, I'm going to put this out there. To do Synastry, ideally, we really want to look at both parties' birth charts, end times and dates and location. However, not everybody has access to that. So if you have your information and you know your chart, but you're dealing with some romantic situation with somebody else and you can't figure out what's going on, but you know their birthday, for $65, I'll do a Synastry question and I can talk a little bit about what's going on. And I'm probably going to offer this a lot over the next couple of weeks because of the Pluto aspects linking up with Venus here soon, and also the squares between Saturn, Uranus, and also planets moving into Leo. There's going to be a lot of drama. There's going to be a lot of friction. People are going to have a lot of ego battles kind of going on. So it can be a really great time to take a look at, you know, how your astrology is working with another person, especially because, you know, some astrologers, they really believe in Synastry charts, or I guess I should say like composite charts. Like Synastry, I feel like is such an amazing way to like break down and really kind of have a conversation with somebody about the two different ways that you guys interact, like the two ways you communicate, the two ways you love, the two ways that you live your life. And it's fun for me, and it's like my job to unpack all of that. And like, yeah, the composite stuff is great, and it can be very accurate, but Synastry can be super helpful for just better understanding another person. So we're doing that too. Okay, cool. So let me refresh this and see if it's coming up for you, Holly. And then Paige, we're gonna get started in just a second. For whatever reason, it's not coming up. So if you guys did pay, please just give me a second, see if it updates, because it's not updating on my side. Right now, all I have is Paige. So just give me a second and we will manage it. So I'm just going to get going. So let's get started with Paige. Paige, looks like your birthday is February 28th, 1990, 11:45 p.m. And that was in Fresno, California. I believe all of that is correct. That gives you a Scorpio rising, a Pisces sun, and a Taurus moon. So those of you guys who are getting ready to look at, you hit send, not request. Those of you guys who are getting ready to look at the screen and see what's going on with this chart, don't get frazzled. It looks a little kind of chaotic because I look at a bunch of different placements in the chart. The outer wheel is the transits, the inner wheel is the natal. So what I do is I spin the dial around and I look at the transits and see what's going on and what planets are activating certain things. Huh? May 14th. Give me 1 second. What's the chart? No. February 28th. We're just confirming the information before we put it on the screen. Give us just a second. There we go. Sounds like we're connected now. Mercury retrograde problems. Thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for bearing with us. Okay, so we should be able to get this chart up. Paige, are you here? I see you. Stoked. I'm going to just read your question off to the audience. So Paige asked, I'm open to whatever the universe has to bring through and would love any insight on love and moving. Sun in Pisces, 4th house moon in Taurus, and a Scorpio ascendant. All right, Paige, so here's the deal. A couple things. Moving always deals with action that's either happening in the third house, which I kind of see as movement, or the fourth house, which is actually dealing with your home and where you're currently residing. It's your inner world also. I'm going to unpack a lot, so stay with me. Basically, you do have Pluto coming up on the cusp of your third house, so that's an indication that you're really ready for a change, you're looking for a change, you're really open to making a transformation, and moving is also going to require a lot of you really looking at the way that you perceive where you live differently, or a radical change altogether. It can be a different neighborhood. It can just be like the overwhelmingness of like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much work to physically move. 2, I also looked at, you know, all of these planets that are in Gemini and they're moving into your 8th house. And so usually Gemini is the ruler of the 3rd house of movement. So part of what I see is due to this recent eclipse cycle in Gemini and Sag, and also this Mercury retrograde that's taking place in Gemini, leaving it actually left your 8th house and it dropped back into your 7th. 2 things are happening right now. This is a reevaluation on your relationships and whether or not you're wanting to go deeper into relationships, whether or not you're willing to open up more into relationships, whether that's just getting back into the flow of dating or making a decision about a current relationship. You can kind of feel like your mind is playing volleyball, going back and forth with, well, you know, do I want to go back to that person? Do I want to respond to this person? Am I even open to dating? Are they communicating well? So you're reevaluating relationships. Also, Mercury going in and out of your 8th house is going to be that transformation financially in regards to moving, what it's going to cost to move. It's also how you feel about the idea of moving and, you know, what it will do for you. So there's some fun stuff that's going on. I preface all this because right now it's either about the emotions or how big of a transformation or what it's going to cost you to make this move happen. So I want you to think about all of those things. I'm also looking into the future when certain transits are going to be linking up, and that's going to be happening later this year due to both a Mercury retrograde, but also it's going to be a Venus retrograde that's happening in Capricorn. So for you, that's going to set up, let me go into the future. That's going to basically set up some situation where a move is inevitably coming, but the move in itself, like, can be, depending on the time that you decide to move, it can be a little rocky. And I would say really think long and hard about where you're moving. Really think long and hard about, is this the right place to move? Is it the right time to move? To me, it seems like there needs to be a lot of preparation, either, you know, financially or psychologically, before you make this move. I'm going back and forth, so just give me a second here. Let me know if that makes sense. The other thing I would say is that due to Venus going retrograde later this year, so it'll be like, I believe, the end of December going into January, and then it'll kind of bleed into February. Venus being the ruler of your 7th house of relationships tells me that you could be in a situation later this year where either you and a partner are going back and forth about moving, or whether or not somebody's going to move to you, or whether or not you're going to move to them, and have you re-evaluating contracts and agreements. So you could, you know, meet somebody a couple of weeks after moving, let's say this summer, or even months, and you meet somebody and they live in a different place, but you've signed a lease, right? And you're like, well, I just signed this lease, and moving was just, it was just such a hassle getting all of this done, and now I meet somebody who's on the other side of town, or they're in another city, and it's setting you up actually for next year when, you know, Uranus is building into your 7th house and coming into a square with planets in your 3rd. So the truth is there's a lot of work that's being done about how you think about moving, how you think about relationships, how you communicate. And as Uranus comes into its perfecting square in your 6th house, it's going to throw all of these changes into your schedule in regards to your career. So it'll be even more like juggling to kind of maintain what you're doing for work, and also maintain very specifically like relationships and domestic stuff. This will play out over a couple of years. It's going to take a couple of times. So really, when we see these squares, like if I just analyze it right now, Saturn in your 3rd wants you to think differently, about moving, where you could move, and Saturn delays. So right now you might feel like my schedule's all over the place. I don't know where I'm at with relationships. I can't move yet. No, but there is some silver linings here. You know, Jupiter is going to conjunct your Mercury another time or two this year, and Jupiter is going to open up your resources, ruler of your second house of money, and then it's going to move into your fourth. So to be honest with you, like if you have a move too soon, before you meet somebody or before you're ready financially, let's say you want to move so bad that you move to an area you're not crazy about, or you get a place that's affordable but it's not comfortable, you can find yourself wanting to move again. So with a situation like this, I would say, here's the deal, you know, I would hold out and see if you meet somebody, at least through like October or November, if you can hang on to where you're currently living. And I think that you will find that that might materialize as you meeting somebody, and, you know, closer to the end of this year or the beginning of next. Movement energy seems much smoother about February of 2022 or March of 2022. You asked a little bit about your love life. I would say reevaluate what's gone on in this last month. Due to a new moon eclipse, it's setting the stage for new opportunities in relationships. It'll take about 6 months for that eclipse to complete. So you want to look to what's happening in the full moon in Gemini at the end of this year. Most likely it will materialize as you meeting somebody significant, but you can meet them while they're traveling, or they could meet you while you're out of town. You could meet them online. I've seen a lot of Scorpio risings recently, like the last year, that have had sudden twists and turns of fate. Obviously Saturn's in the fourth house. And it's like changes with where you're living and feeling like, okay, you know, I got to figure out where I'm living, or I got to get serious about my home life or what I'm building, and lots of relationship changes. So usually a relationship brings on a move, or a move brings on a relationship. It will be one of the two. Just be mindful about where you end up moving. Somebody asked me about what astrology I'm using. I have two. I use Ephemeris for my phone and for my Apple stuff, and also for my iPad. And I use Astro Gold. So it's basically I think it's like Solar Fire for Mac, but I really like Astro Gold. Let me know if that is helpful for you, Paige. I know that that was like a lot, but when I see Saturn and Uranus square off with each other, Uranus always wins. So it's almost like saying you know, many people would say, okay, Scorpio rising, you know, your relationships are what's actually going to push this change in your domestic life. Like many Scorpio risings are suddenly meeting people, or suddenly getting married, or suddenly getting divorced, or having kids, or buying houses. There's a lot of these things that are happening very quickly. And I've seen the Saturn Uranus square is one step forward, two step back. It's kind of got this push-pull energy. So you have to be strategic with how you navigate moves. Okay, so let's see what you guys are saying. Hang on, Mercury retrograde. I love the question, open info. Okay, so you can ask a question for your love life. That's fine. Super helpful. Look for these breaking points to get really interesting here very soon. Especially as Mars and Venus are moving into Leo. So they're going to move through your 9th house. So it makes me wonder, are you going on a trip? Are you going out of town? Has somebody invited you to go on an adventure? Are you planning a vacation? Look at some of that stuff. I would wonder, as those aspects from your 9th house make oppositions to your 3rd and it squares, you might meet somebody in a faraway place, or you might start looking at a completely different city that you never considered moving to. Cool. All right. Blue Flame says, oh, that's why I'm having heart palpitations. I mean, honestly, anybody who's got a lot of, if you have a lot of, you know, Pluto and Leo, if you got a lot of Leo placements, you know, these squares from Uranus and also from Saturn can really bring up a lot of you know, cardio stuff, you know, heartbreak, breaking things, you know, nervous tension, heart palpitations. I've seen a lot of people who have had these issues. Wow, it's everybody came in at once. Okay, so we've got Chicky, Arielle, and Melissa. Thank you guys. I see your guys' donation. We will go in that order. So let me go ahead and switch over. I'm going to plug in the new chart. Give me just a second, and we're going to get set up here for Chicky. All right, so 8/20/86. And that was at 4:59 p.m. So we are doing this on an iPad. I'm like used to doing it on my laptop. Jeanette, Pennsylvania. Okay, August 20th, 86, 4:59 p.m., Jeanette, Pennsylvania, okay. Not yet, I'm not ready yet. I'm pushing too many buttons, sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, so we've got this going on for Chicky Jewelry. Hi, Holly. Don't worry, we're gonna get everybody if you guys sent it in. So right now we are chatting with Holly, then we will get to Arielle and Melissa. Stay tuned. Thank you for your guys' donations, your investments. Okay, so question from Holly was, I have no idea what direction you're going in life to make money. Can you help narrow it down, please? And thank you. Of course we can do that for you. All right, so let's take a look here. Money, money, money. Money deals with the second house, Aquarius. So for Cap risings, you know, Saturn is hanging out in your second house of resources, you know, self-esteem, what you physically and tangibly have. Saturn transit the second house can sometimes materialize at first as feeling like a tightening of the belt, like, oh, I don't have enough, right? Or I have to cut back. I have to cut back on my spending. I have to cut back on what I'm eating. I have to cut back on my indulgences, because the second house is very much about indulgences. So one thing I would say is when Saturn goes into that house, especially for you, because it is, in a way, yeah, it's coming into a sextile with your North Node. So there is some support that's building, actually, especially into next year, with some expansion in regards to money. Equally so next year when Jupiter becomes conjunct your moon. So that's how you feel about your resources. It's probably most likely going to manifest as a partnership, some kind of a financial partnership, or some kind of working with a partner. The moon can be a woman. The moon can also be somebody who's family. The moon can also be a friend, because it's at an 11, so it can be a female friend. And in the second house, it's some collaborative thing. It can be designing jewelry, getting involved in real estate, selling to other people, doing some type of intuitive work. I wonder, like, do you make jewelry, being that you've got Moon Jupiter in the second house? Is there some spiritual connection to jewelry and what you're designing? Is there some aspect of you wanting to integrate more so like spiritual metaphysical things? Like, do you make jewelry that is connected to crystals, and the crystals is meant for healing or intuitive development? You know, working with moonstone, working with silver, working with pearl, working with aquamarine. You want to look at materials that are going to be associated with the moon and also with Pisces. Let me know if that's helpful. That's not all I have to say, but that's just to start. I mean, you know, when I look at what people quote unquote should be doing for a living, I'm always cautious to say what you should be doing because I feel like that's a matter of opinion, but I'll tell you what you're good at. That is some of those things that I already mentioned is what you're good at. You did, but you don't anymore. Good time to get back in the game to be doing that in this next year. You don't need to do it yet, but I think what you're good at, we look at your midheaven and also the ruler of your midheaven, and also the aspects to your sixth house. Sixth house is where you work, how you work, what you do. Sixth house Gemini, working with your hands, working with phones, technology, communicating, talking, typing, but working with your hands. Once again, then we look at Mercury. Well, you've got Mercury natally in the 8th. So what you're experiencing right now is Saturn in opposition to ruler of your 6th house, this realization that's like, I don't want to do that, or, you know, my work or what I've been doing doesn't feel like it's really merging or coming together. This is because of transit Saturn in opposition to your Mercury. It's also how you think about your resources, what you feel like your value should be, what you want to be paid, but not feeling that sense of like completion. Then we also look at your midheaven, Venus ruled Libra, at a 25, working independently quickly, which is kind of ironic. It's an Aries degree, but it's in the sign of Libra. So we look at your Venus. Venus being natally in the 9th. So I wonder, do you or should you be doing something creative that you can also teach? Can you make a product that you can also teach and sell to people? And Venus can still be jewelry. It can be cosmetics. It can be beautiful things. What do I think is going to happen? I see a setup that's building in your chart, basically between, transit Saturn and transit Uranus, that tells me you want more resources, that you want to do more. I feel like this retrograde has been about you reassessing your hobbies and what you're good at and what you create. When the transiting North Node that's currently in Gemini moves into Taurus in the new year and begins to come into aspect with Pluto in your first, you'll totally change the way that you look at creative stuff, and you might start making things again or selling things again. Trying to catch up, sorry. You guys are fast. Let me know if this resonates, Holly. To be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend making any big changes until after that Mercury retrograde that's coming up in Libra, the end of September, beginning of October. When Mercury goes retrograde, you'll decide if you want to take a new course, learn something different, start teaching something, if you want to travel somewhere, if you want to take on a mentor, if you want to be kind of fine-tuning your tools, so to say. And I believe that the very beginning of next year is going to be really different for you. Like, I really encourage you to go back to some of that spiritual jewelry stuff, working with crystals, working with metaphysical things, maybe even intuitive designed. Working is such a bummer. Yeah, it's that Pisces moon stuff you're going through too. Realize that Neptune is now going retrograde. It's becoming conjunct your Jupiter. So that's wonderful for like online sales. I mean, that makes me feel like you could do some kind of like intuitive design where you sit down and you talk to somebody about what energies they're experiencing in their life and you handcraft something specifically for them. Also, the third house is hands. So rings, jewelry, things that have metaphysical aspects. Kind of reminds me of like Vedic astrology, like how Vedic astrology will tell you specifically what to wear on what finger, what stones. Like, that might be something that I would encourage you to learn about. Something else that could also work would be feng shui. That might be something that really opens up for you, especially if you already have a general understanding of energy and flow and crystals and elements. Feng shui can definitely open things up, and that can be another option for you, especially as Jupiter comes into a sextile with your Mars, ruler of the 4th, building on a home business, but requiring some Jupiterian aspects. Glad it was helpful. Okay, so let me know if that makes sense for you, Holly. I'm going to move on to Arielle. I'm going to show this. Rob. Aries moon gang. Any Aries moons in here? How you guys doing with that Libra moon opposition square Pluto? Real fun, huh? Making this real fucking nasty tonight. It's gonna pick up over the weekend. That's fun. Transit moon, opposed natal moon, square Pluto. Fierceness. All right, so let me pop on over to Arielle and plug Arielle's info in. It's cool to see that we've got a lot of like 89, 90 people in the group. You guys have some fun conjunctions. 10/23, 1990. And it looks like that was at 3:56 a.m. Huntington, New York. Okay, 10/23/90, 3:56 a.m. So let's pull this chart up. All right, are you still with me, Arielle? I saw you posting some stuff here. So let me pop on over. I'm in fashion, overworked, underpaid, unhappy, need to change, looking for some clarity. Love life is struggling because of this situation. I need to get out. What do you see for me? I studied fashion, but I'm both creative and analytical. Thank you for all of the info. All right, so Virgo rising. Wow, wow, wow. You just had an eclipse on your midheaven. That's a big deal. I love your chart. You are so talented. My goodness, you are so talented. Look at that Sun, Venus in the later degrees of Libra. So let's talk about what's going on. Your fifth house activity, you know, the last 2 years you've had gangbusters in there. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto have all been hanging out in your fifth house saying, what do you need to create? Make it personal, make it yours. It's like labor pains in the fifth house of like the process of like really coming out with your creative, authentic self. It's been applying a lot of pressure to Venus and also your Sun, which have been in the second house of resources. Yes, we know that you can make money, but to me, it looks like you want to do it in a much more pleasurable way, especially because transit Saturn collided with your North Node in the 5th this last year. So that's about like really like leaning on your creative resources. And yeah, Saturn in your 5th, squaring Uranus in your 8th is like, I'm not getting enough from other people. They're not giving me enough. How do I go deeper? You'll have frustration in your love life. You'll have frustration in whether or not your creative talents or what you're working on is actually bringing you money, and if you're getting recognized for what you're doing and paid for what you're doing. Virgo risings are having a rough run right now, and part of that is because of all of the retrograde and eclipse energy in the 10th. You know, the North Node has been transiting through your midheaven, and now it's in your 9th. So I'm all about solutions. Let's talk about the good stuff. How do you get out of this? I want you to look at the North Node transiting your 9th house right now, ruled by Mercury. You natally have Mercury in Scorpio in the 2nd, so very fixed in what you know, what you believe, how you want to make money, what you're invested in. How do you get out of this? You use this retrograde to make a decision about what you're willing to invest in, opening up a second stream of income or a second way of making money, expanding internationally. Do you need to take courses? Do you need to like go and learn something else about what you're currently doing? Even if you're very well educated, the North Node in your 9th house is saying, well, there's a different perspective that's emerging. There's some new branch of what you've already studied that can actually be helpful, and you can go deeper. With the conjunction happening just recently on your Mars, it's time for a change. You either need culture, you need to travel, you need to take a course. And what I like about you being a Libra is that don't sleep on the fact that Jupiter is trining your Sun and your Venus this year, and also your Mercury. What it's setting up for is as you go further into 2022 and 2023, it wants you to make something, create something, start working for yourself, focusing on you. Saturn in the 5th is your creative talents. I've seen people go through charts like this and they launch all kinds of stuff and it ends up being very successful after a struggle. I've seen people go through transits like this and they realize that the creative thing that they really need is a child. It's a baby. It's a love affair. It's something that brings you more life and kind of opens up. And what I really like about the next 2 years in your chart, and it starts this year, but it really gets good next year. Saturn comes into a trine with your Venus and your Sun. Saturn trines your midheaven. It's a lot of air energy. It's communication, information. It can be consulting, creative consulting. Jupiter is going to stay in your 6th house, which is going to expand and help you enjoy more of your work. But what it's putting an emphasis on is the need to pay better attention to your mental health. And like, yeah, if your mental health is shot to shit, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, you're not going to last for long periods of time if you're not taking care of your health. Your chart's very complex right now. It's very complex with all the energy in Gemini squaring off with your 3rd house. It wants relationships and your daily routine and what you're doing to give. Let me know. Give me some feedback here. Fashion design, but very analytical. Being that Mercury rules your midheaven and your Gemini midheaven, you can do 2 things. And you've got Mercury sitting in the 2nd. So what you've been experiencing is transit Saturn square your Mercury. And you do have Mercury square the nodes. It means like you need to use your voice. You need to share. You need to write, teach. You need to, I mean, consulting would be great. Your chart is very eerily similar to mine. I'm a Scorpio sun. I got all the same planets that you have in the 2nd house, but I'm a Libra rising. Have had the same issues, same problems. Personally, I would say look for all the goods to really show up right around the end of this year. There's going to be some other business that's going to emerge from this. You know, you had an eclipse new moon on your midheaven, setting you up for 6 months from now. Something new is going to emerge that involves Mercury. Mercury is your chart ruler. Is it your business? Are you consulting? Are you doing creative consulting design? Is there something like this? Thank you guys for your patience. It's cool that you guys are down to listen to this stuff. Listen to other people's stuff, putting it out there on the interwebs. It's a really great way to learn. You know, sometimes people can't keep up. It takes time to kind of get your astrology ears working, so to say, you know? One other thing that makes me wonder, looking at your chart, Arielle, is can you work with people internationally? You know, you got that 12th house ruler sitting in the 2nd and the north node's in the 9th. Do you want to teach design? Do you want to work for a university? Do you want to write a course? Do you want to teach a course? Can you work with people on an international level? Can you try to get picked up by a bigger company that might allow you to relocate, go somewhere else? I mean, that eclipse just opposed your moon. Look for a job in another city or another country. I mean, it'll really project you out because something about your career and your home changes right at the end of this year. And that eclipse is actually in motion literally for 3 years because there will be a Mars retrograde there at the end of next year. So if you don't make these changes next year or within this next year, they do get more challenging next year. And you're also going to see that Pluto's coming into a square with your Venus, and it's also coming into a square with your Sun. So 2 things are going to happen. You're going to be like, I need to make money with my own business and my creative stuff. I need to stop making money for other people. And or you're also going to be seeking a partner that's got some cash. And or you're also maybe going to be like, I want a baby. I need to make something, you know. Sometimes that project, you know, it mirrors like pregnancy, like, you know, trying to get pregnant, being pregnant and dealing with that for 9 months. And then this whole process of like actually having the baby. Like the baby can be a new career, can be your own personal project. I think you're crazy not to be consulting, to be really honest with you, because you could make bank doing that with this chart. Yes, beauty sales. Yes, I say do it. But you want high-end people. You want to be working for bigger brands. And you can make some good money doing that, man. You can make some good money doing that with this chart. All right, we're going to move on. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Arielle. I'm going to move on to Melissa for an astrology reading. It looks like Melissa sent that info. So give me a second. I'm going to plug that in. And then I am going, don't worry, I see you guys also that are in the super chat. You are going to be, you're going to get got too, don't worry. I'm trying to find Melissa's info. Let me see here. Did you send it? Okay. 51381. And that was at 7:10 a.m. And something. Oh, that's like you're up by Hanford. Okay. I was like, where is that? It's Northern Cali. Okay. So just confirming May 13th, 81, 7:10 a.m. Yes. Okay. Wondering if love is coming or just business the rest of the year. It's a desert out here. Single mom, been single for 3 years. Okay, Melissa, here we go. Arielle, awesome. Keep doing that stuff. Please keep staying with the international stuff. Okay, so questions about love. Also questions equally about, is it love or is it business? Well, a couple things. One, you have had the South Node running through your 7th house. So it was kind of like this cosmic clearing in relationships and kind of taking a step back. It needed to clear, whether it was like past relationship karma, you know, clearing out any stickiness with other people, and it can kind of feel like crickets. Right now with Jupiter in your 10th house of career, expanding your career, it wants to put you out into the work sphere. And this is really amplified because the nodes are coming into a square. Believe it or not, you might meet somebody through work because Jupiter rules your 7th house of relationships. So as that square with the nodes moves in on your Jupiter, it's like, no, nobody who's here right now, go back to work. You might meet somebody through work. It could be a boss, it can be a superior, it can be new people who come into work. There's also retrogrades and eclipses happening in your 12th house. So your dreams are probably really active. Let me know if you're having crazy dreams or lots of like intuition stuff. When you have a very strong Jupiter transit, like the transiting nodes square Jupiter, equally also like Jupiter coming into a square with your natal Venus and the transit north node coming into conjunction with your Venus, someone's coming, but you got to focus on work. It's either going to be somebody that you meet through work, somebody who shows up at your work, somebody, you could go out to have drinks with your coworkers and you'll meet somebody. Trust me. This is a chart that wants you out when you really like to hide, right? So when we kind of step back from the Gemini rising and we look at it in a sense of Taurus, if we were just to read a Taurus horoscope, Saturn being 10 signs away from your ascendant, Saturn showing up to work, being at work, Uranus being in Taurus, being like this rebellion against work. To be honest with you, if this were me, with all of the sextiles and everything that's going on, the trines even from Saturn to your Venus to your 5th house, he's either going to be culturally different and diverse than you. He might be from a different country. You might meet him at a distance. You might meet him at work. It's going to be one of these things. Also, if you're open to like some kind of continuing education, you could meet him as well. Saturn in the 9th, trine planets in the 12th, trine all your Libra in the 5th. Hello. It wants to bring you a relationship. It definitely wants to bring you a relationship. I think if you get the show on the road now, your love life kind of gets a little bit more eventful, like September, October, when planets start moving into Libra. My favorite time for you is probably going to kick off right around mid-August, and this is going to roll through all of these transits until about the end of October for dating. Get back out there, date, meet people. Ask questions, though, right? Because you got Venus in the 12th, and, you know, there is a lot of Gemini energy in your chart. So I don't know, like, do you get involved in multiples? Do you meet people who are tangled with other people? Like, do you meet people who aren't ready? Like, do you feel like good luck Chuck? Like, you meet somebody and you guys work some stuff out and then they're fixed? Kundalini awakening right now, losing a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, wait till the South Node conjuncts your natal Uranus. When that happens, it's going to kick everything into overdrive in regards to your career. There's going to be like a sudden twist of fate, a change of fate that's going to be very lucky. So you might have a huge breakthrough in your career in October, which then is going to lead you to something going on with a relationship. Not that it's all about relationships, but, you know, with all these trines and everything that you've got going on, the time is coming. I would say you want to look for this to perfect really about September through the end of the year. For a Kundalini awakening, I mean, that's really going to kick into overdrive when you have your exact Uranus opposition. What you're experiencing right now is Uranus is actually conjunct your natal Mars, which is the ruler of the 6th. Lots of digestional issues, hormonal issues, all kinds of sex stuff. Your sex drive is all over the place. Your schedule's changing. Detox, purging, clearing. You know, detox is a big thing if you got Scorpio in the 6th. It's an elimination of energy. So it's not just that the Kundalini is waking up. It's like, what do I do with this energy? Like, I can't have sex all the time, or I want to put all of this energy into something that is going to be significant, whether it's a spiritual practice, whether it's a project, a labor of love, if it's a cause that you're dedicated to, if it's the ritual of learning more about Tantra, Kundalini, connecting in a really sacred sex kind of way. Yeah, so it's not just Uranus, it's Uranus on your Mars, girl. Coming into a square with Saturn, you need more of a practice when it comes to that energy, right? And it can be also like healthy for you, like very health related. I do think somebody's coming though. Like I said, September through about December is when it's most active. Pay attention to the Mercury retrograde Libra. I don't say that to be like a scary thing. Like, I'm not like other astrologers that's like, oh, watch out for Mercury. Like, if it wasn't for Mercury and other retrogrades, we wouldn't clear out the shit in the fridge. And all year, Mercury retrogrades in air signs, so it's about communication, really direct, less emotional. The last couple, last year, were all in water signs. So now it's like cut to the chase, getting to the details, and all of the Mercury retrogrades aspect Saturn in some way, and the North Node. So I have really enjoyed the retrogrades. Granted, the one in February kind of sucked, for me at least. It was rough, but This one's been like awesome, like the eclipse and the trines. Like I started a new program, you know, I teach astrology. I've been practicing astrology for 14 years, but now I'm taking a horary course. I'm planning a trip to go somewhere later this year. I got engaged. Like all of these awesome things happen during a retrograde and an eclipse. So this is not something that you want to be afraid of. You and your daughter have the same Mars, major fighting. Yeah, I could see that, especially because of the square. You know, Saturn square Uranus is the young versus the old. It's the new, innovative, rebellious, younger kids, and what's going on specifically with elders, Saturn, you know? But no, it's not just all about work, but you'll know when you're on the not so easy path, because you'll see so much resistance in your love life that you're going to get frustrated, or you're going to be meeting the wrong people and you're going to be like, okay, forget it, I'm going back to work, because something about work is trying to lead you either to meeting somebody or being introduced to somebody or just having more of an authority in your own life. Yeah, I am. I'm taking his horary course. I actually just got all of my books. I'm going to do a video soon. Somebody was asking me about well, what books do you recommend for beginners? And if you saw my office, I'm literally running out of room for books. There is 2 or 3 different book stands, and yeah, I just got all of my horary books for his course. So every Sunday morning, my cranky ass is up, because I'm on Pacific time, at 6:30 a.m., bright and early on a Sunday. That's going to conflict with my football schedule at some point later this year, I'm sure, and I'm doing horary. So, you know, it's been really, really, really good. He is the best. I love him. He is my favorite. I've been watching him for a while. You can send the details in the PayPal. Yep, you can send it in the PayPal. I'm going to look at the PayPal in just a second. So I'm going to move on to the next person. Thank you guys for your patience. That was my answer for Melissa. I'm going to go and hop on over. I see we got Mary, we got Liberty Group, we got Kate, but I do need to take Rome. Where is he? And Mar. These are the 2 that I'm going to take. And Kristen, actually. I have not spoken to Kristen. So, all right, Kristen, thanks for your patience. Let me plug this in. Give me just a second. Guys, we've got probably about like 5 people waiting. So if you're getting a reading, just be patient with me. It's going to take just a little bit of time to get through these. Okay, so Lynn, June 23rd, 92. Okay, oh, hello. And that was at 10:10 p.m. What is that? Is it Missoula? Am I pronouncing that right? Missoula, Montana. Okay. All right. So June 23rd, 92, 10:10 in Missoula, Montana. I'm showing my jewelry designs at a festival a few days after my birthday. Just nervous, excited how it's all going to work out. How exciting. Oh, cool. You're taking his first year course. Amazing. Nope. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I'm reading for you, Kristen. Oh. Sorry. It's okay. Just bear with us. So we're going to see Kristen, and then we're going to, because I'm scrolling back to the super chat. I'm doing the super chat right now. I'm going to go back to the PayPal. So we've got Kristen, and then we've got Mar, and then we've got Rome. So Kristen, this is for you. Missoula. So you're showing your jewelry, and you want to know how it's going to go just after your birthday. So it's a couple days away. Some interesting astrology is linking up here. So I don't know exactly what day, but let's say it's the 24th, 25th. So we want to look at a couple different things. Number one, tell me what day it is, if you don't mind telling me. The things that you do revolving around your birthday, your solar return, it's important because sometimes it can kind of set the stage for what's going to happen for the year ahead. Okay, just a heads up. You know, why are these days good? Well, they're good because there's about to be a moon transit and a full moon happening in Capricorn, and also, you know, really kind of bringing a lot of attention to your ascendant. Granted, it's really going to be closer to your Venus, which is about jewelry, beautiful things, things like that. So the sun highlighting your Venus, which is about what you have to offer, what services you have to offer, it's pretty good for your visibility. Having the moon conjunct your ascendant, great for your visibility. Jupiter sitting in your second house, expanding the ability to sell jewelry. Sextiling your ascendant is great. I think you're going to meet new people. I think it's going to be really good for networking and meeting other people who are creatives and other people who are involved in fairs and things that they sell. So that's really great. I also think that you've got a lot of planets moving into your seventh house, which is also great for visibility. What I'm really looking at is the Saturn-Uranus square and what's happening in regards to things that are out of your control at home or with other people, and actually being able to show up. Sometimes I see like supply and demand stuff kind of happen with that too, where it's like you show up and like people like a certain type of thing and they sell out of a lot of stuff, and you're kind of like, sorry, we ran out of this. But Venus coming in opposition with Pluto, Venus being the ruler of your fourth. Watch out for things that go on at home that actually kind of derail you, or things that are happening domestically or with the family that makes it harder to actually physically get there. Yeah, you're going to meet lots of other people. And, you know, what's cool with that North Node going through your fifth house right now with the Mercury retrograde is like seeing all different new ways that you can be creative, new styles, different things that you can be learning about what you're designing and what you're creating, coming up with new techniques. I think it's going to go very well. I would say you've got actually quite a few transits that make me feel like you're going to get a bit of visibility here. But networking is key. And meeting other people who have insights into collaboration, sales, where you can sell your products if you want to sell your products to other places. It's also making the most of the rest of this transit. You know, you're going to have the North Node pretty soon leave your fifth house of creativity, and then it's going to dip into your fourth house. So anything that you want to create, design, learn, new things that you want to put out there, you know, especially making changes to websites and things like that, or social media for your visibility, do get that done before the end of September. Then the North Node's going to move into your fourth house, and the focus becomes on your home and your roots. And Pluto's in opposition to your Mercury. So one thing I would say is be mindful of partnering with people. Be very careful, not just romantically, but I'm saying partnering with people who want to be your business partner, because Pluto rules your 10th. I feel like you need to fly solo. Like don't get lured into things where people want to say, let's collaborate, design jewelry, let's split it. Like, be very careful with that stuff. Stand your ground, especially with Saturn square Pluto in your 10th, and also squaring Uranus. Lots of change in your career, relationships, and home life in this next year. Your Saturn return is going to be fucking wild. I would get a reading if I were you, whether it's with me or somebody else, you know, even if it's just like a check-in, with holy fixed squares happening in your astrology in this next year. Saturn return, Uranus in your fourth square Saturn, you know, South Node coming into your 10th, conjunct Pluto. I mean, I've seen people suddenly stop doing what they're doing for a living, meet somebody, move, get married, have kids, and start a completely different business. So lots of crazy stuff is going to start happening for you in a good way, I hope that was helpful for you, Kristen. Definitely get out there. All right. Let's move over to Mar, transitioning from my normal 9 to 5, building a business in feng shui, holistic healing. Super weird. I want some clarity on these transits. I love that. I love when people leave their muggle job and they go and do wild and crazy experimental spiritual things. I did that 7 years ago. It's a wild ride, man. All right, so 8/13/82. And that was at 1909, so that's 7:09 p.m. Pasadena. You want to see me make funny faces, send me your birth time and military time. You can see the wheels turning. Okay, so August 13th, 82709 p.m. Pasadena. This is for Mar. Feng Shui, clarity on these wild transits. Let's see what's going on. Okay, let's pull your chart up. Aquarius rising, Saturn on your ascendant. That's cool. So you're being seen as like the master, right? Like you're coming into your guru-ness with Saturn and Jupiter on your ascendant. Saturn's going to dip back into your 12th house for a little bit, and I would say that can bring about a sense or a feeling of like not quite ready, something's getting ready to emerge, I'm still learning something, I'm still hiding out, that's a really interesting time, pretty much like this next month until Saturn crosses your ascendant again, and that will be the beginning of next year. Like your restart really happens then. That's your big coming out celebration, is going to be the new year. I also feel like Saturn being in some hard angles and some hard aspects for you to Uranus is getting you better acclimated with Uranus in the third, which is like websites, social media, how you can start getting your name out there, how you're a little bit more active. It's your chart ruler. So it wants you to interact with some of these Uranian people on a day-to-day basis, talking to them, interacting with them, podcasts, websites, things that you can put out there so people can know more about your business. I've been low pro about this. Don't worry, you also have Saturn coming into an opposition with your sun. So anybody who's got fixed signs in your angular houses, if you're a Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, this is high adventure this year and next year for you. But for you specifically, moving into making that segue, this is also the transiting south node conjunct your midheaven. So that tells me like something most likely is going to be shifting where you're getting ready to release and like actually let go of what might be your normal job. If you're not doing it now, you're really feeling that you're pulling away from that come December of this year. At that time also, Saturn is sextiling the south node, so you'll feel ready to make the change, ready to let go and move into the next chapter. There seems to be a lot of busyness also going on with this eclipse that we just had that was in opposition to your moon, and then there was like another eclipse that happened in your 10th house. So have you already quit your job, or is this something that you're planning? I like feng shui for this chart though. I think with Saturn in opposition to the sun, the one thing you got to be prepared for is just this year, next year, it's a lot of standing your ground, right? And, having boundaries and knowing when you're being too rigid and like too unwilling to enter into partnerships or give advice to clients, 7th house's clients. And there needs to be like a firm boundary between your energy and other people's energy. I also feel like there's going to be some challenges possibly with relationships. I know you didn't ask about that, but you have Pluto coming into an opposition with your Venus, and you've got Saturn in opposition to your sun. So that tells me that there's just a lot of like having to practice boundaries. Doesn't mean that things can't work. They can work, but it's having boundaries with people in general, whether it's clients or relationships, is definitely going to be a theme. I like that the North Node has transited your moon recently, and it got you into more of like an intuitive type of work or feeling more in tune with what you do within a home business. All it's going to take is a really strong Venus transit. I think that you're going to see that things kind of turn around. Mars as well. So, Saturn is squaring your Mars, and it's also not really coming out of that square until the end of this year. So are you still going through your program? Do you feel like there's... It's okay if you're married. Don't worry about that. But it's a lot of being like, I got to do this. Like, I got to do this for me. So realize that there's a lot of having boundaries with relationships. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but Uranus coming into a square with your sun in the 7th and also Saturn joining the mix. It's how you communicate with people. And I feel like it's really putting the pressure on you to focus on your communication. It might be putting the focus on you to like try to get on podcasts, try to talk to people online, try to talk more, make videos about what you're doing, look into publishing something, putting something out there. Uranus always wins, guys. When Uranus squares off with Saturn, Uranus does not give a fuck. He will throw a bomb into any situation, and he's bombing Saturn all over the place this year. And where Uranus is where we need innovation. Fine tuning what you want to offer because it's draining, i.e. don't meet with people in person. Use the phone, use the internet. Uranus in the third. You don't got to meet with people in person. Schedule consultations and basically tell people, guess what? You got 10 minutes. This is our consult. Let's get an idea of what you need this feng shui for. What's going on in your life? Are you serious? Are you really looking to hire somebody? Okay, great. You don't need to be traveling all over the place, because if you are, you're going to have people who are not respecting your boundaries and expecting you to show up places and go out of your way. You're going to have people that are calling you on your personal line, and there's friction between you and your partner because you're always on the phone and you got a crazy schedule. So, fine tune. Thank you, CM. Just remind me when I get to you, and I will definitely look at that. Yeah, if you're from overseas or whatever, we do our dates differently. We do the month, the day, and then the year. So if you give it to me in digits, sometimes we can get confused. Mar, my recommendation is try to see if you can try to get some spots where people can interview you, or maybe you can get on a podcast so you can talk about what you're doing, because that would be really helpful to help kind of get you out there so other people can see you while Jupiter is still in opposition to your sun. And also to your Mercury. This business stuff is going to get a whole lot easier for you in the new year. Hope that was helpful. Okay, Rome. Let's take a look at Rome. What you got going on? Let me see if I can pull up your info. I know that the birth information was here. I just did not see it attached. Rome. Why am I not seeing it? Rome, did you send your birth information? Can you send it again for me? Because I'm scrolling, I'm not seeing it. Oh, just found it. September 15th, 82, 7:33. Laguna Beach. It's nice there. I miss California. I live in Las Vegas now. I miss the weather. It's very hot here. September 15th, 82. All right. And we've got 7:33 p.m. All right, let's see what you got going on. Aries rising, sun in Virgo, moon in Virgo. Crazy right now, no idea where I'm going to live. I need to help, not sure what to do, if I'll stay in Texas with my friend or move. Help me figure out what's going on. All right, let's see what's happening. Movement, once again, third house. Hi, there was an eclipse and there was a retrograde there in your third house, which deals with moving. The details are getting sorted out here. I mean, to be really honest with you, I think as soon as Mercury gets out of this shadow, I do kind of get the impression that you're going to be moving. Especially when Mercury goes direct. So right now it's retrograde, which means like there's two options, two things that you're sorting out, two places that you can live, who you can live with. There's clarity that's coming, especially with Pluto trine the sun, or the sun trine your natal Pluto, excuse me. When Mercury goes direct, when it crosses over 19 degrees and it gets triggered by the moon, something should happen. So I do believe that you're going to be finding out that a move is taking place, or that a place has come through, or somebody has come through for you right around July 1st. It might not be something you considered. It can also materialize as happening July 5th through July 9th. And on July 9th, there's a new moon in Cancer in a square to Mercury. So you'll see that like there was two people, like you're going back and forth and one person was not going to be reliable. So you're like, shit, I got to go and find somebody else. Okay, what's my second option? Who can I call? This is all supported by Saturn, by the way. What you'll see perfect between now and the beginning of July, Mercury trines Saturn, and it trines all your planets in Libra. So even if you don't have a permanent place that you're moving to, I feel confident that you are going to have a place that you're going to move to until you have to reassess your living situation when Mars and Venus come into conjunction with your Mercury. And it might be like you do something temporary until you figure out where you want to stay or sign a lease or get on your feet, which I feel like you're actually in the process of doing during the Mercury retrograde and when Mars conjuncts your Mercury in October. So you need a place like July, August, September, October, like 3 to 4 months. It looks like it's going to be temporary. Somebody will come through. Then that retrograde is going to sort itself out. It's going to come into a trine with Saturn, and it's also going to make aspects to your 4th house, which means you're going to find a situation either where you have a roommate, or you're going to find a situation where it works in a sense of a partnership, being able to have a shared space with another person. Perhaps maybe there can be like a cousin, aunt, uncle situation that lines up, or a friend of a family member who's like, yeah, you know, I'm looking for a roommate too. I've got a place, or we've got a place that we can rent you. Are you interested? Pay really attention to how people show up for you and really help you, especially in September going into October. Also, the moon rules your 4th house, and Jupiter's in an opposition to your moon right now. So it means like you're going to have to look at places that are kind of unusual or places you wouldn't typically go. That's very strong because it's currently in an opposition to your moon. So it manifests as a number of different options. I would say what is going to be best for you emotionally, what's going to be best for you in terms of work. That's what you want to ask yourself. But yeah, you're going to move, you know. A better option is opening up. How many people saw this with the Mercury retrograde in Gemini and also the eclipse in Gemini? It was like a complete new thing that opened. It's like funny story. Like, you know, for me, it was me going back and forth with a wedding planner because I'm trying to get married later this fall, and we're doing it in a destination location. And I was going back and forth with a wedding planner that like did not have her shit together, but was like wanting me to put a deposit on the wedding. So back and forth, and I knew with the retrograde and the eclipse, I'm like, I shouldn't do this. And so finally I just dumped her. And on a whim, when Mercury conjunct the sun, when we had the Mercury cazimi around the eclipse, I called another person and spoke to the other person, and she was like the most awesome person ever. And she's probably going to listen to this because after we started talking and planning the wedding, she's like, oh, I could have used you. I really need an astrologer. I'm so interested. And like, you read tarot cards, and like, I need you. Like, I'm going to need a reading. We needed each other. So like, other options are opening up that are better, that are going to be clearer communication. It's going to work better for everybody all around. It'll end up manifesting as a situation that worked out way better than you could have ever imagined. It's happening not only to get you to a place that's going to be a better option, Rome, but it's happening to kind of align you with more support, partnerships, people who can help you, better communication with a roommate, with a relationship. So there's something on the other side of this that starts to kind of unfold closer to the fall of this year, and it'll make sense why that fell through. It may also be because who you're possibly considering staying with, or who you've been thinking about living with, is having all kinds of issues with other people that would actually affect your ability to live there. Equally, it can affect your relationship as well with them if they're kind of like bailing on you and they're not so reliable, you know? Text this with your friend or move. I mean, to be honest with you, is your friend in a relationship? Can you let me know? Is your friend in a relationship, or is there something going on where they're having to sort something out with another person? I'm gonna bop on over to the next person. So we have covered everything in the super chat. Guys, I'm gonna ask you if you have any other questions. We're wrapping it up pretty soon. Just to make it easy, send the PayPal, send the payment to PayPal if you're gonna make a purchase, just so I can focus on the PayPal. It'll be a lot easier for me to see everybody who's coming through. So looks like next in line we got Mary. Hello, Mary. How's it going? Thank you for joining our live chat this evening. August 24th, 1958. So just a heads up, guys, if you are asking questions about partnerships, that is a $65 question. So if you're sending me 2 birthdays, that's a $65 question. So you would need to send the difference of the $25 for me to look at both. So 65 for both. I can answer one question about your chart, or if you have questions about the the partnership, let me know. You'd have to just send the difference. No, Joshua, it's $40 for one question. One question, not a full natal. That'll take me an hour. Are you crazy? I'll do it for you. You're just gonna have to wait a couple months if you want me to read your natal chart. Okay, if he's not, then great. Then really this is about him sorting out whether or not he can get free. But look for an answer right around the beginning of July. It's going to take a little bit more time for this to unfold. Personally, I think you're going to move. I think you're just going to move and it's going to be temporary. Okay, so bouncing back over to Mary. I see that you have 2 birthdays, so I'm going to put your chart up and get that going. Thanks, Rome. Okay, so just waiting on Mary. You have some questions about a relationship. Please let me know if you want to pay the difference for that, because it is 65 for relationship questions. Now reading for Mary. Let's see if she popped in here, if she said anything. Those of you guys who are just tuning in or dropping in, nice to see you. Nice to see you. We are doing readings, astro readings on the spot, on internet land in front of everyone. Okay, Mary, let me know. Just waiting to hear back from you. I'm going to bop on over to the next person. If you do want me to do that relationship reading, you just got to pay the difference. So I don't want to start reading unless I know. So I'm going to move on over to, who's the Liberty group? Who dat? No. Who is the Liberty group? Their question was, got a great job in the perfect med spa in Montana, want to move somewhere warm like Arizona. Should I settle into Montana or try to move, or wait 4 years and live in both places? Okay. Hi, Planet Liberty. Let me plug in your info. Let me get your chart up. We're just waiting to hear back from Mary. Mary, if I don't hear back from you, I will refund you. All right, so 11/17/76. And what is your time, Liberty? Can you give me your time? (4:26 p.m.) And that was in Salt Lake, Utah. Okay, cool. Let's get your chart up in just a second here. Okay. So let's confirm this. Taurus rising, is this this look right to you? Hey Josh, we do live interpretations, so you can get a you can get a generated report, but that's fucking boring. Why would I do that on a live stream? You get what you pay for. You want to talk to somebody who is going to give you more than just a regurgitated report. That's what makes astrologers so fun and different and unique. Okay, so getting on to Liberty, 4:26 p.m., November 17th, 76. Cool. All right, so your question was what the plan should be in regards to getting a new job. So you got a job at a med spa in Montana. You want to move somewhere warm like Arizona. Should you settle in Montana or try to move? Typical Taurus rising issues right now, huh? All of these squares. The reality of the situation is, with Uranus on your ascendant right now, it has you acting very Uranian and like willing to kind of do something that's kind of different than what you would usually do, especially in regards to how you move, Uranus in the first, how you act, how you look, and it's it makes the nervous system kind of erratic. It's also currently in a square with Saturn in your 10th. So there's a bit of an expansion and a contraction going on right now, both with Saturn square Uranus, but also with that coming into a perfected square, and something needs to give. So Saturn opposed Saturn is like work responsibilities versus home responsibilities. You're most likely to commit to living somewhere where you have a good job, but I could see you doing some erratic stuff where you go back and forth for the next year. I don't think you'd go back and forth for as long as you think, actually. I feel like you would probably do that for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And then when Jupiter comes into an opposition with your moon, ruler of the 4th, you will finally decide in about 2 years' time which city you want to settle in. But I see you staying where the job is, where the best job is. I don't see you necessarily staying in the city that's easiest. There's a lot of going back and forth, right? So if you're open to doing the back and forth, do the back and forth. Do the back and forth, but realize that Uranus on your ascendant wants you active. It wants you doing, you know, a little bit more activity, right? You could work in either place, but what's going to happen when Saturn comes into an exact opposition with your Saturn square Uranus is you're going to be exhausted doing the back and forth. Especially because Saturn at a 16 deals very specifically with like the home and the family. And I'm watching that come into a square with planets in your 7th house. So it's going to be like because of some kind of a partnership or because of a relationship you're currently in or somebody you meet, that is going to set up for Uranus in opposition to your sun. So it's like not always being able to show up for relationships. No dudes, no fun in Montana, just work. If that's the case, do the back and forth. And I feel like by the time you've done the back and forth for a little bit, I think you'll be a little bit more adventurous with the idea of having a change and actually physically moving when Jupiter goes into Aries and it retrogrades back somewhere around fall of 2022. And then when it finally opposes, like let's say at the end of 2022, I think that will materialize as finally making a commitment to like where you're actually going to be living and moving to. Yeah, especially because you're going to start meeting people in different places. Uranus on your ascendant in opposition to your sun means you're most likely to meet younger people, fun, playful people, lovers, creative stuff, like romantic stuff is just going to blow up when Uranus comes into an opposition with your sun. They might be very unusual. They may have children. They might be younger than you. They might spark something in you that just like makes you like fall head over heels in love. Yeah, do the back and forth, but don't commit to like moving until the end of 2022, okay? And don't like go off on a tangent and marry somebody and relocate either. Like stay the path, do the back and forth until the end of next year. I'm glad that was helpful for you, Liberty. Popping back over to Mary. Okay, so it looks like Mary popped back in. I saw her a second ago. Or Lynn, excuse me. Lynn. General for now, it's me. Hi, Lynn. Okay, so general, let me go back to your chart. Let me pull this back up. Give me just a second. August 24th, 58. And that was at 9:38 p.m. And that was East Orange, New Jersey. Okay, let's see. So you want to do a general reading just to see what's kind of going on in your chart. I know that you did ask about relationship stuff, so I will touch on that. All right. Well, seeing like a lot of like Taurus, like Aquarius, like Leo signatures tonight. You guys are all just getting hit all over the place with the Saturn Uranus squares. The biggest thing that I would say is going on right now is both the eclipse and the retrograde happening in your second, which is helping you focus on values, self-esteem, finances, money. And it's come into an opposition with Saturn in your 8th. So it can be a lot of like, you know, am I getting enough? Am I getting enough from somebody? Can I pay something off? Do I feel valuable? Are they opening up to me? Are they aligning with me? It seems like there's conflict either pertaining to like career advancement, because Saturn rules your 10th, and or how you're dealing with men and having a bit of a standoff with men right now for that eclipse rule of your 5th house to make an opposition to Saturn, or some kind of a younger person or a kid needing some assistance or needing resources, right? Probably second to that is the fact that you have transit Saturn in opposition to your Venus, limiting a relationship at a distance, going back and forth with somebody, whether or not they're ready for you or whether or not they're involved with someone else. And this is being squared by transit Uranus. So we call this like it's setting up, right now it's a T-square. So it's very similar to what I was just talking about a second ago. Uranus in the 1st, square transit Saturn in the 11th, square Venus in the 5th. It's this need for you to feel more solid and feel like you're actually investing yourself in stuff that makes you feel safe or makes you feel valuable, makes you feel loved. It's about physical connections too. I sent 2 payments, went through. Okay, we got it. Okay. Okay, so that's the general. Don't worry, it's okay. I'll plug their information in for the twin, but I definitely see that kind of friction happening in your love life right now. That's really going to play out clear into next year. It's not going to change. And being that you're having Saturn in opposition to Uranus, it's really actually settling out your natal Venus-Uranus aspect. So people who've got the Uranus-Venus, it's love at first sight. People come, people go. And right now it wants you to really define the difference between relationships and friendships and that whole intimacy aspect. Because right now it's like you're going to act erratic and you're not going to be cool with just having some twin connection or some kind of connection at a distance and like not having it defined. Like you're not going to want that, right? Okay, so let's look at the info that you sent for that other person. Let me pull that up. Give me just a second. Oh man, so Mercury retrograde. Okay, so you sent this in the chat. So give me a second. Let me pull this up. Lynn. There we go. August 24th. Why am I not seeing his info? Can you send me his date of birth again, just so I'm not scrolling forever, having everybody who's watching live get bored? Might be a bit of a delay. Yeah. I just need the birthday. I got the payment. So the birth information of that other person. And then next on deck, we're gonna have Kate Voss. You will be next. So get ready. Love reading next 12 months for Jason. All right, just let me know, Lynn, send that birth information. I'm going to pop on over to Kate. I'm going to take Kate's in. We're going to close down the readings, guys, so that's going to be it for the night. So that will be it. We will not be taking any other readings. I'll be back next Friday night. I'm here every Friday night. It's going to be tarot or astrology. Maybe I'll set it up so we can start doing like a vote or something, you know. So Lynn, I'm going to save your info, but I'm going to come back because I need his birth information. I do not have it. I'm going to pop on over to Kate. So I will be back for you, Lynn. So this is going to be for Kate, 10/11/88. (7:38 a.m.) is in... I just want to confirm, because you're in the UK, is it October or is it November? Can you confirm for me, Kate? Just confirm. I don't want to put the wrong birth date. There's probably a delay in the video, so it is what it is. But I've got you here, 10/11/88. Let me know if it's October or November. I got to ask when I see the UK. I've been got before. Let's see. This is my twin. He's been really toxic. Karmic marriage for 10 years. I think is winding up. I want to know about his Uranus square Saturn and how it's impacting the relationship for 12 months. So this is Jason's chart that we're looking at. That's some juicy stuff. So we're looking at his chart, huh? Just let me know, guys, the birth info. I need the birth info. I need the birthdays, both for Lynn and for Kate. Just confirm that, Kate. We must be having delays with the internet. Let's see if we can ask you guys in the chat. Maybe we can get this info. So Kate, can you confirm, is it October or is it November, please? Because I know you're in the UK. And also, Lynn, I need his birth information. Okay, there we go. Okay, Lynn, I will be right back to you. Right now, I'm waiting for Kate because I'm going back and forth between two profiles. If I can't get one person, I'm going to refund it. I'm going to go to the other person because I don't want to keep everybody waiting. May 31st, 79. Yeah, I got yours. Thank you, Lynn. I'll be back with yours in just a second. Okay, Mercury retro. I'm just going back and forth. Let's go back to Lynn. So Lynn, you want to know about this person born on May 31st, 79. So let's see what's going on with their chart. May 31st, 79. Okay, Lynn, this is for you. I'm going to come back to Kate, so pay attention. So I've got their aspects over your aspects. You're the inner wheel. They are the outer wheel. So very interesting. If we look at this, he has his Mars and Venus conjunct your Mars. That's pretty sexy. It's great. There's a lot of passion. You also have his Jupiter conjunct your Venus. That's big love. And his moon is probably somewhere in your 5th house, which is also quite romantic. So you guys both have a lot of Taurus and a lot of Leo in your chart. Part of what's going on right now is an opposition with transit Saturn in Aquarius, which is helping define the difference between being friends or being romantic, Leo, square Uranus. It's trying to push both of you guys to define this better. Don't worry, Kate, I'll come back. I'm still gonna get you. I just had to switch on over to her so everybody isn't waiting. But specifically for Lynn, both of you guys are in the crunch. Both of you guys are feeling the push from Saturn and also Uranus to make changes. If this person is in an existing relationship, if they're unwilling to define the interaction they're having with you and they can't pick a lane, there's going to be like drama. There's drama coming, you know, with Mars and Venus moving into the 5th house. So it makes it very romantic, and it can be good for quick get-togethers, but it's going to square off with Mars and also Uranus. So pretty much what you're going to see happening this month and next month for both of you is just blow-ups of egos. I think while this is a chart that like really is very strongly attracted to each other, look at his Sun and his Mercury in Gemini. It's in opposition to your Saturn. So there was an eclipse that was an opposite in Sag. We just had the Sag eclipse. It was opposite his Sun and Mercury. So there's a miscommunication happening, or you're feeling like he's being eclipsed out of your life. And he's probably not been communicating too well with the retrograde and the eclipses that are happening in his natal planets square the nodes. So the question is, are you basing your value or your self-worth on whether or not he wants you, on whether or not he chooses you, on whether or not he claims you? Watch out for those trappings. The other thing is that he's got his Saturn in close proximity to your Juno and your North Node. So there's this feeling of being like, okay, he needs to commit to me, or you know, he commits to me in some way. He should commit to me in some way. This is being magnified. Like, it makes me wonder, like, is this person in a relationship? Okay, cool. Thank you for letting us know there's a delay. I appreciate it. Yeah. I see all of his stuff. Lynn. The reality of the situation is it's about adapting and getting with the program or moving on. That's what this is about. This is going to get harder next year when Uranus is conjunct your Mars and also his Venus. You know, that's like clear breakup energy for me. That makes me feel like there is something going on here where if you guys can't define this, then you'll need to go your separate ways. If they're currently in a relationship and they're not getting out of their relationship, if that doesn't change, they need to go their separate ways. So it's got to be one or the other. Look for all of this stuff to get really worked out and through the pressure of the squares that are taking place this month and next month. But I don't really see like a real assessment and a decision that's going to be made until about October through December at the end of this year in regards to relationships for you. Keep in mind, Saturn's in opposition to your Venus, ruler of your 7th house, so you feel like love is at a distance, or in some way people are keeping you at a distance. Yeah, timelines are helpful, but the reality is like transit Pluto right now in Capricorn is in a square to your natal North Node in Jupiter. It's about you taking your power back, not giving power to other people, not letting other people determine when you go into a relationship, when you don't, when they're ready. Fuck them. It's not about when they're ready. It's not about that. It's about you looking at your relationship at men right now, ruler of your 8th house, sex and unity, and how it comes into a square with your nodes, and how much power you give to men, how much power you give to a parent, how much power you give to an employer if you're letting men jerk you around. Don't let them jerk you around. And have clear, definitive boundaries. This is what it means to be a relationship. This is what it means to be a friend. And we don't cross those boundaries. I see your reply. Don't worry, Kate. I'm coming back to you. I just wanted to finish off with Lynn. So hopefully that was helpful for you, Lynn. I am going to look at Jason's chart now. Now that you've confirmed the time. So now I can go and I can put that in. So give me just a second. Hopefully that was helpful. Popping back on over to CM, we're going to look at Jason's chart. And it looks like you said it's the 10th of November. Thank you for clarifying, so I can put that information in. I can get that going. 10th of November. Hello, Mercury retrograde. And it looks like it's 1988 at 7:38 a.m. And that was in the UK. All right, so let's look at Jason's chart for CM. Okay. No, I can see you. Okay, we're going to cut it off after SWATs. Anybody who makes any purchases, it's going to be refunded. So just a heads up, we're going to wrap this up. All right, so looks to me like you've got questions about Jason, love reading for the next 12 months. Well, let's see. He's a Scorpio rising. There is a lot changing for him. I'm going to be quite frank with you. Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon. The heavens are pushing him very quickly right now to realize that there needs to be a massive change in how he communicates with relationships, how he structures his day-to-day life. There is both an eclipse and a Mercury retrograde happening in his 7th house this month, which is supposed to be a clean slate for relationships. To me, this looks like somebody who's really afraid to make change. So, as far as I'm concerned, between Saturn in his 3rd squaring off with all of his planets in Scorpio, it's really challenging his communication skills. And it's also squaring off with Uranus in his 6th house, which tells me like either something is up with his career or his work schedule or his health, where it's like it's all over the place and it's hard for him to settle into a relationship. What's happening with Saturn in his 3rd, trining his 7th house, is he's supposed to be learning how to communicate that he's got all of these issues going on and that he doesn't know how to make space for a relationship, or that he's scared to make change, or that he's struggling mentally, or that he's struggling with work and that he can't always show up for a relationship. The truth is for Jason, with the North Node in his 7th, there is like all of these safety preservers being given to him where partners come in and they can offer him support and they can help him through communication, showing up, being in a relationship. It makes me feel like if he's not opening up, then he's doing himself a huge disservice. Granted, Saturn has also been squaring his Mercury, so it's definitely a lot of anxiety pertaining to work. I've seen a lot of Scorpio risings that are having a lot of breaks and patterns with their career. They're working odd jobs, they're doing one thing, and then they're fluttering off and doing another thing, and work is not so consistent. And when you have a Scorpio or a Scorpio rising that's not consistently working, they get very anxious and they're like, well, I don't feel safe. What am I going to do? Like, what's happening, right? So this is going to be really tricky territory, especially for like the better part of the next year and a half in his astrology. Jupiter, his ruler of his 2nd, is getting ready to move into his 10th. So it makes me wonder, like, does he need to relocate? Does he need to move to another place? Is he going to move in with somebody and start a family? Like, this is a chart that says in the next 2 years, he's going to move, have a change in his job, have a change in his relationship. And Uranus has not even gotten into his 7th house yet. So the next 2 years is high adventure for a chart like this, because he'll very quickly rush into a relationship or very quickly leave a relationship and then find himself in a situation where he's having to start over. And so there's a lot of help from relationships, but I could see where he's pushing back and he's not open to it at the moment. Saturn in the 3rd, also trining Venus in the 11th, makes me wonder, like, is a relationship going to start from a friendship? Does he have to get out of a relationship and enter into a new relationship with somebody else? It really depends on who you are. I don't want to spin it based off of who you are to him, but to me it seems like if he's been in something that hasn't been working and it's been toxic, it's time to get out. I could see that he could be reconnecting with people from the past or rekindling with people from the past. This has been very, very, very active for 2nd decan Scorpios. So whether you're a Scorpio rising or a Scorpio sun, there has been a lot of people from the past who have come back or reevaluating relationships from the past in some way, right? So I'm wondering how that's materializing. Jupiter's going to hit his North Node and his Mars in this next year, and it's about falling in love, living with somebody, maybe having a family, getting married. If he isn't doing those things, that tells me he's in a relationship possibly with the wrong person, and he's going to have so much strife with that relationship because he's meant to be coming into his destiny in the next 2 years in regards to home, family, domestic matters. He's afraid to change, dude, and this is a triple Scorpio. It's like, who else is a triple Scorpio? Bjork is a triple Scorpio. Neil Young is a Scorpio, very moody, kind of like sussing everything out, like not too trustworthy. And like all that Scorpio is super, super resilient to making changes because he's afraid. And technically his sun's in his 12th house, so he hides out a little bit, It's going to be all or nothing for this person. Uranus in opposition to his sun means that he needs to come into a realization that the only way for him to really truly be okay being himself and come into his own is being with a partner who's going to support that growth and basically say it's okay to go through change. Jobs end, marriages happen, people die, people are born. There's going to be a lot of this change in his life in the next 2 years, and he's going to learn from being open to relationships. But it's make or break right now. He needs to communicate in order to move forward. Hope that was helpful. You'll have to let me know. Thanks, Lynn. You have a wild chart, Lynn. You're a heartbreaker. I could just tell looking at your chart. There's been a lot of just like love coming in and out of your life, and like you need to start being more of a ball buster and not letting people like walk all over you. Even if they're super attractive, even if they're very charismatic. I know that Venus or that Mars of yours can be like a little possessive, so it's just like it's all or nothing. Thank you, sweet shine. It's my failed attempt to paint my own nails. I'm trying. All right, so let's look at what's going on with SWATs. What's up, SWATs? You snuck in there real quick, didn't you? Let's put your info in here and let's see what you've got going on. February 10th, 1986. We chatted, I think, one of the other lives, unless I'm crazy. I'm pretty sure we did. Thanks for coming back. And that was at 3:10 a.m. in Fiji. Guess it would help if I spell it right. Lautoka. Okay, SWATs, 6 to 12 months. Yeah, it's been a bit rough. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Cap rising. Well, so what's the theme for the next 6 to 12 months? I mean, the Saturn-Uranus square, so changes in values in regards to what you're investing in your creative projects, time, money, energy, resources that you put into your happiness. Saturn can have you feeling a little strapped for cash and like harder to find ways to enjoy yourself. So I think that there's some interesting things that are kind of setting up actually, where I feel like there's some sexy energy coming into this chart. Mars and Venus are going to spend a great deal of time coming into squares with your 5th house and oppositions to your sun. So it can be great for bringing in more money, bringing in lovers, lots of intimacy, sex, fun, changes in the relationship department, innovations and investments, finding that chunks of change can fall out of the sky. You can suddenly find funding for things that you do want to create, things that you do want to do. So that's really fun. And that's going to be pretty active. I mean, that Mars-Venus is going to be active until about the end of July. Then the sun comes into an opposition and it squares Uranus. One thing I would say is that if this is a very active love life, dating life, sex life, stuff like that, especially over the summer, to me that screams like potential pregnancy. So be very careful. With Jupiter on your sun, it wants you to expand. Jupiter on your Venus, ruler of the 5th, it wants to bring you true love, but it might also bring babies and creative projects, new lovers. And then the opposition for the sun is like relationships turn on a dime, like people suddenly come in. Like you can suddenly meet like a very wealthy person. You can suddenly meet a very sexy person, somebody that you really want to merge with, somebody that you can collaborate with. And I would say watch for those squares. I remember your chart and just all the stuff that we kind of talked about last time with the Saturn transits. And I would say hold on to your values. Be mindful of what you believe in. Like you got to dig in your heels a little bit. And I'm going to give you the okay to like really make people work for it. Whether it's working with you, taking from you, sharing resources, having sex with you, whatever. There is a need for there to be some creative aspect. Like spontaneity is what I think of when I see Uranus in the 5th. It's, do you spontaneously go on dates? Do you spontaneously have sex? Do you spontaneously create? Like, how do you make that happen? And how do you keep it fun and lively? So there will be people who will come into your life. It can be younger people or it can be romantic partners, financial partners that can kind of wake this chart up. I mean, oh my gosh, the oppositions you're going to have with Leo in opposition to your sun square the 5th house. There is an unfolding happening over the next really a year or so with the North Node coming into your 5th and Uranus in your 5th. It wants you to create something. What do you want to create? How can you make money creatively? What do you value? What do you need? I would also say that, now you're done having Uranus oppose your Pluto in your South Node. So there's a lot more stability going on with your career. Big time. You just had an eclipse also that was really doing a number on your Mars. So I could also see that as like becoming more aware of your goals when it comes to your career and like getting really direct about where that is going. I still see a lot of that getting sussed out due to the retrograde in September. But I'm loving like that everything kind of falls into place. Like there's a lot of like getting healthier right now, getting organized, like keeping schedules, like managing schedules and being aware of what you can and cannot do and what is and is not healthy for you, so you can make more time for the things that you want to do, like relationships, Libra on the midheaven, changes when it comes to your work life. Kind of get the impression also that whatever this new moon was that set up in your 6th house, because it was in a trine to your sun, it's all about work stuff. There's this huge expansion from June of 2021 all the way until the end of the year that's about making changes in your career and how that's setting up for you. It'll make sense once you get to September, October. And it's trying to, all year, the retrogrades, basically what they're doing is they're with support to Saturn. It's saying like, let's talk about it now. Let's talk about it now. Let's talk about these issues now. Because next year, when the North Node and the South Node move into Scorpio and Taurus, and it squares off with Saturn, and also we've got Uranus in the mix, change comes so fast next year. Financially, in terms of joint resources, Scorpio and Taurus deals with what's mine and what's yours. So I feel like so many people are suddenly going to have to pivot and make really difficult decisions in relationships, money, material things, like what they value, right? The North Node going into Taurus is the value. So when I look at North Node going into Taurus for your chart, it's you value creativity, you value true love, you value passion, you value children. There's something that's setting up that you're like, I need this. I must be given this. And if you're not careful with these aspects, you start finding that Uranian energy in the 5th is like, okay, you know what? If I get pregnant, I get pregnant. I really want that. Or I want love so much that it'll drive me to do crazy things like, date somebody younger or put up with a bunch of craziness in a relationship, a bunch of back and forth. For the most part, it's super positive in your chart, though. It's very positive. You just had a massive clearing out with that eclipse in opposition to your Uranus that should have really shaken out a lot of your bad habits, like things you're eating you shouldn't be eating, things you're saying you shouldn't be saying. The 2nd house is what comes out of your mouth or what you put in your mouth. So I've seen people with heavy 2nd house stelliums. They need to be really careful what they say. They need to be careful with what they eat. So Mercury retrograde in your 6th and an eclipse in your 6th in opposition to Uranus is, I don't align with these values anymore. I'm not eating this anymore. I'm not allowing this to happen in my schedule anymore. I need to focus more on, positive manifestations, what I'm saying, positive mindset, sticking to my goals, like not budging, right? Especially when it comes to dating. It's like they have to have X, Y, and Z. When you are really clear and definitive about what your standards are, it's like high standards, low expectations. If you have high standards and low expectations, nobody is going to, you're not going to be let down, right? Because you had low expectations from the get-go. But your high standards are always going to remain high. It's like, well, you can come or go, whatever, but these are my standards. And unless you're meeting this, property, you want marriage and kids. Property is the 4th house. Marriage is Venus. 5th house is kids. I mean, this is across the board. If you hold on to this, all of this is going to open up. And I think... Jupiter coming into conjunction with your Venus, Mercury retrograde, you might meet a really wealthy person who's culturally different than you. You might meet somebody who's super spiritual. You might meet somebody from a foreign place or somebody who just landed where you're living, or you meet somebody on the internet and you're like, let's do this thing, You see this out of your chart with mine. You're in a past life. Yeah, my South Node is Leo. I have lots of Leo people or Leo aspects. I think your moon's conjunct my South Node. We're definitely friends. We probably both have great hair and lots of drama, don't we, Lynn? SWATs, the money stuff, you know, one thing I would say, like when Saturn went through my second house, I really built my business. And I might have told you this. If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. But that's when I built my business. And I also have the same planets in my second house. And it was a lot of me being like, no, you're going to pay for this. I'm not just going to give the reading. No, I'm investing in this. Like, I'm investing my time and my energy. Like, this is a business. You're investing in yourself right now. Sun in the second, Venus in the second, your values, your business, what you need, what you want to hold on to. If your MO is, I want land, I want a husband, I want a family, these are things I want, don't give. And equally, don't get with men where you have to pay for this shit. Part of the square from Uranus and also the planets that are coming into opposition is you might find men that are like, yeah, I'm down to do it, but they aren't ready for a home and family. They don't have a job. This isn't me saying don't be with somebody who doesn't have money. It's me saying be with somebody who's not expecting a free ride. Be with somebody who you can work with, and somebody who is willing to maybe move to be with you or vice versa. Things like that. What's really working for you, I actually really think is Jupiter. Jupiter, you're kind of in that sweet spot where Jupiter is going to hit your Venus, your Mercury, your Jupiter, your moon, like all the goodies, they show up right at the end of this year. The money, the land, relationships. The moon is your partner, by the way, right? So it's all in the second house. Go and find a guy that's already got land, because he's probably got land or property and he's like, I'm just looking for a wife. I just want to have some babies. You want to move to me? Great, come to me, Jupiter. Find somebody who has the resources. They may not have the money, but they may have the land and they have the willingness, and they're also seeking marriage. So many donuts. Sweets. The second house, Venus likes sweets. Jupiter likes sweets. Lots of sweets. Baked goods, things like that. Hopefully that was helpful for you, SWATs. Thank you guys for staying on and watching. I appreciate you guys listening and being patient with me getting these readings out. I love coming in and being able to chat with you guys and do this. It's so much fun. It's a great way for me to unwind and spend my Friday evenings, because this is really enjoyable for me to be able to do it in this way. And also people learn, right? You learn more about the transits. So if you're just kind of getting new into astrology, keep listening. Listen to my weekly forecasts. I talk about what happens with the lunar cycles, what big events are shaping up. I tell you all kinds of funny stuff, how it's played out in my life throughout the week. And just insights that I have. I've had a couple people ask for some cool request videos. People want to know more about magic stuff. Not a lot of people know that I do a lot of work with herbal apothecary things. I make candles and all kinds of baths and other goodies, and I make it with lunar cycles, and I also make it depending on the planetary aspect. So I'm going to talk about that. People were also asking me questions about what books I read. Like I said, what I would recommend for beginners. I will do a video on that where I'm going to come out and talk about, depending on what you want to learn, some stuff I would recommend for beginners. And I am starting the process of putting what is going to be a study club together. So that will be coming. I don't know when, but I'm going to try to do a monthly study club where people can subscribe and they can be a part of it monthly, where we sit down for maybe a couple hours on a weekend and we can learn astrology. It's going to be easier for me to do that, so I can teach about the astrology of now as we go. And also just as a bit of a crash course until I really do a super formal packaged series of stuff. So I am growing into that. I'm trying to make time for that. But I have an increasing number of clients and people who are asking about how do they learn? Can they study with me? That's all coming. I'm going to make it possible where we can do it live, probably like either on a Zoom or on a stream like this where you guys can subscribe and get the link. So if you have any questions or if you have recommendations about topics, or if there's different types of astrology questions that you have, you're more than welcome to come back. I'll be here on Fridays. I'll be answering questions for you, whether it's a natal aspect, a transit, what have you. We learn obviously so well from other people. Many people will see charts that are very similar, and so listening to what other people are going through and what that is like can also prepare you for transits yourself. that you may not have gone to yet. If this all sounds like Latin to you and you're like, what is this? Check out my links below, check out my website, subscribe, and follow my social media stuff. I'm always talking about all kinds of things that is interesting pertaining to tarot, astrology, magic, intuitive development, all of that. If you want to book a reading, I've got some openings. They are starting in August. I'm usually booked out for 2 weeks at a time, 2 months at a time, excuse me. So I have openings the end of July going into August. You can book a reading with me. That would be either for a natal chart reading, if you want a transit reading. My astrology is different. It's a combination of what I see intuitively in the chart. Also working with tarot, and I am an evolutionary astrologer, and I also practice predictive astrology, synastry, composite charts, progress charts, solar returns. I do it all. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys and gives you a little bit more insight into what's going on with the stars. The astrology for the next 2 weeks is just jam-packed with all kinds of stuff. So make sure you tune into my video on Monday and you get an idea of what's going on with these upcoming squares from planets like Mars in Leo, and also equally this Venus opposed Pluto that's kind of setting up right now also. So check that out. Have a good weekend. I'll see all of you guys very soon. Take care.